When I came to, I was suddenly in that strange tea room where I'd often argued fiercely with Beato from across that table. Of course, Beato was nowhere to be found. It was just me, isolated and alone. That's okay. Even so, I won't stop thinking. Okay then. What were Nox's commandments again? Yeah, lay them out for me. I'm sure Delanor explained most of them when slamming me with them. Of course, even I recall them vaguely. Way to call me out like that. What was the first one again? I don't know. Oh, you're just gonna spell them out for me? Awesome. Okay. So I'm guessing, like, after the murders happen, anyone who hasn't been introduced in the story or mentioned can't be one of the, is what they're saying here. Is how that would apply. So it can't be someone that's introduced later. Okay, what do you mean by later, though? Because if we break down each episode as a different story, or if we look at, the entire Umineko itself as the entire story, like, what are... When I muttered about what the first one was, as if answering my question, Delanor's subordinate appeared. Without bothering with an unnecessary hello, she told me nothing more or less than what I wanted to know. In other words, the culprit must have already appeared, as early as the first game. Okay, so they are saying, like, as a whole, the entire story, from episode 1. They need to have been introduced right away. Okay. So it can't be someone like, obviously it can't be Erika. That, like, she's, Berncastle's piece and whatnot, but you can't point at her and say, like, she did it. No. It has to be someone who was introduced early in the story. Not later. So, once again, like, these aren't a guarantee, but, like, if you're having trouble figuring something out, lean on these as a way to support yourself. Like, okay, think about, okay, this, maybe this. Sure, that's the most basic of basics in the mystery genre. A classic assumption. A classic assumption. Have I really been keeping to that assumption? With each new game, the number of people in this tale keeps increasing. That violates the closed circle rule. By that point, everything gets screwed up. Did I give up on the inside, thinking that the true culprit or mastermind must not have shown up yet, and that reasoning was therefore useless? Oh, I see. If I read this tale as a fantasy, new characters keep showing up, to the point where even having demon kings or gods or creators appear wouldn't be strange at all. Even if the true mastermind first appears in one of the last episodes, I'd have to accept it. However, if I read it as a mystery and stick with that conviction, then there's no need to worry at all about anyone who shows up later. Because Nox's first clearly states that it's impossible for the culprit to be anyone who appears later on in the story. Of course, there's also what both Delanor and Virgilia said. There's no guarantee that this tale follows the rules of the Decalogue. So of course I can't deny the possibility that the culprit first appeared in the second game, or later. Okay, fair. However, this is one way of thinking. Okay. This time, I'll forget about the devil's proof completely. Try to borrow the power of the Decalogue in my thinking. After all, I've already said myself that I won't be able to reach the truth without a multi-angled look.
なら何度も繰り返されたこのゲームの犯人は全て18人の中の誰19人目の幻想なんて初めから必要ない。
Even the first of Nox's commandments denies the existence of an unknown person known as the Witch from the very start. If I had followed that in the truest sense, I might not have suffered so miserably in the second game.
ノックスの第2条は
There's Cornelia.
謹んで申し上げたたまつノックス第2条探偵方法に超自然能力の使用を禁ず。
Okay, as a detective technique. Which means when we're talking about it in the meta world and whatnot, like, okay, you can use the red truth and whatnot, but when you're in person confronting it, like, as a mystery and not a fantasy story, you have to have actual clues to back up what you're saying. You can't just say, here's my red truth, I win. You have to say, here's my thought, here's my quote-unquote truth, Here's my solution. There we go. Here's my solution to the mystery. Here's why I think it. You can't just say, here's my solution, fuck you. As much as I'd love to do that. Delanore's other subordinate appeared without a sound, and gave me an answer to my question. That's right. A detective can't go around using magic.
そしてこれがフェアな戦いであるなら探偵と同様に犯人もまた魔法を使ってはならないということだよな。
慎んでも解釈は自由と知りたまえ。
Right.
だよな。ああ、俺の自由に解釈させてもらうぜ。
This game is a battle between me and Beato. Then because this tale is solvable, no elements will appear that make it impossible to solve. In other words, things like magic mustn't appear. When they do appear, I shouldn't suspect that the mystery element is breaking down, but I should instead question why it was shown and suspect the witnesses and observers. Right. That's right. That was Beato's greatest weapon in the second game. Depictions of magic, which couldn't exist in a mystery. By showing me that, she forced me to think that this tale wasn't a mystery, and therefore that reasoning was impossible. So I surrendered. However, if I had believed unshakably that it was a mystery, it would have been completely obvious to doubt the witnesses who claimed to have seen magic. Also, at the end of the first game, it was revealed that this tale was passed on to people in the future by that message bottle. Someone had written about this crime, this tale. In other words, this entire tale is a world that includes the personal opinions of an observer, namely the person who wrote that message in a bottle. In other words, the observer isn't God, it's a human. Therefore, there's no guarantee that this description is truly impartial. By the end of the first game, it was already clear that we've broken the constant premise of the mystery genre, that the story itself must be seen through the eyes of God. What? For that reason, it's possible to doubt even the observer, as well as the witnesses. If I could have doubted this much, then no matter how many seemingly unsolvable displays of magic appeared, I wouldn't have had to blindly accept them and give up. However, that begs the question, is it even possible to solve a tale written by an observer who isn't impartial? If I get obsessed with this, all my reasoning will end here. However, I had to believe. I had to believe that Beato was trying to fight me through this tale. Because it's a fight, that means I've been given a chance of winning. By giving me that, doesn't that mean that reasoning is possible? Let's go. This part is tough. Unless I believe that the cruel witch took on the risk of losing to try and have a fair fight with me, I can't get past this part. Just like Virgilia said, it's just like love. If I can't believe that Beato is fighting me head on with everything she's got, I won't be able to reason any further than this. Sure, I'll acknowledge it. Unless we acknowledge that we love each other, we won't be able to get any further. When Virgilia ran out of patience with the two of us, shy and incapable as we were of acknowledging that out loud, she gave me the red truth instead. That was the red truth saying, Beato wanted me to solve it, so she made the riddles of this game solvable. What the hell? It's like Sato-san in Class A says he likes you. Like hearing a love confession via a friend. I really am pitiful. Reasoning is love. If we don't love each other, the reasoning won't start. In that case, how can we say that we love each other? If you think you can solve it, just you try. You're incompetent, like hell you can solve it. Yeah, according to George Aniki, people like that are called tsundora. That brutal witch is finally starting to look a bit cute. If I meet her again, I want to try saying, you're such a tsundora. I think you're thinking of tsundere, but alright. If I meet her again somewhere, well I mean this takes place in the 80s, the story itself, and you know, I don't think in the 80s the term tsundere had been coined yet. So maybe that was the original term, I don't know. For the love of God, please.
純不動でいいぜ。使えそうなやつを頼む。
謹んで申しノックス第8提示されない手がかりでの解決を禁ず。
謹んで申し上げノックス第6条探偵方法に偶然と第6巻の使用を禁ず。
Where accident or intuition to be. So you can't just say it's a hunch. You know, you can't just say, you know, I feel it in my gut that this is the right answer. But you also can't just, like, stumble onto the answer. It must not be solved with clues that aren't presented. And it must not be solved by relying on accident or coincidence. If this tale is made to be solvable, we can read this the opposite way. In other words, clues must be prepared so that the case can be solved. And it has to be made in a way that it can be solved without relying on coincidence. Right, you can't hope that the reader happens to see a certain part of it, they have to see it. If I can believe that Beato is challenging me to a fair game where reasoning is possible, then I can be sure of that. In other words, Beato has already left me clues, hints, and messages in this tale. It isn't from the Decalogue, but Attica, or someone said this. There are 3 riddles to be exposed in a mystery. Oh yeah, the who done it, how done it, and why done it. Right? One is the who done it. Who is the culprit? One is the how done it. How did they commit the crime? One is the why done it. Why did they commit the crime? All of this means that clues related to these 3 riddles are already present inside this tale. The who, the how, the why. No, strictly speaking, it's like this. Because she wanted me to solve these 3 riddles, Beato scattered hints about. Though whether I'm capable of catching those or not is another matter. Even if you think a riddle you propose is easy, it might be difficult for the person trying to solve it. In that case, it's only natural that there will be a difference in how difficult each person finds it. Therefore, as Beato goes through each successive game, she watches me closely, and tweaks the game as needed to get a good arrangement. When Beato realized I had completely surrendered in the second game because it was too hard, she secretly worried. If I surrendered and lost the will to fight, the game would no longer remain on an even footing. Okay. That's why at the end of episode 4, she and Virgilia kind of gave it away that they were tricking him, right? Because, like, if he just signed away and said, oh yeah, I believe that witches are real, and completely ended the game there, the mystery wouldn't be solved. Therefore, in order to make me regain my will to fight, or no, that was episode 3, whatever. From the 3rd game onwards, she set things up in a way that made it easier for me, giving me tips on how to fight and a few hints. Virgilia and Ronove obviously appeared so that they could help me. Okay. Also, though we still had the usual crazy magic shows, she gave me the metaphor of the Braun Tube trial, as well as tips on how to fight back. I finally understood how to fight. And most likely, at the end of the 4th game, Beato managed to have the all-out showdown with me that she had probably wanted. Then, Beato acknowledged that my abilities had become fully fledged, and entrusted me with her heart. Entrusted me with explaining this tale, didn't she? Okay. In that case, it was really dumb of me to boycott most of the 5th game, just because I was so disgusted with those 2 witches. It doesn't matter who the game master is. All I need is to search for the truth in Beato's game. On the contrary, I should probably thank those 2 witches, just a little, for continuing the game in Beato's place, now that she's gone and left everything to me. Of course, I doubt those evil witches were trying to do anything of the sort. Culprit. Crime. Motive. These answers to those 3 ultimate riddles, the hints, must be scattered throughout the previously shown tales. It's probably a very faint light, like trying to find beads that have fallen onto a sandy beach. They're definitely there. However, they're so faint that unless I believe strongly, there's no way I'll be able to find them.
近景謹んで申し上げる。
なんだ。
Let me hear it.
物語を今の汝には 真実のか弱き光を見逃さぬ目が与えられていると知れ。
今こそ物語を。
If you're actually suggesting I reread this shit, you can fuck off. If you're actually suggesting I try to like just skim through all this shit and like try to find bits and pieces, nah, you can fucking suck it, alright? I'm not rereading 60 hours worth of bullshit and another however many, what is this, like 12, 15 at this point? No, go away. If you're legitimately expecting me to do that, you can fuck right off, no. I mean, I don't have to read. It's almost like there's, you know, a video archive of these things or something, but I mean, shit, some people have already pointed out shit in the comments. Like, only a few videos have gone up as of this recording, and some people are already pointing out things in the comments, like, they're linking to my, they're linking to my own videos of like, hey, remember this moment in episode 1? And just something to think about. I click on the link, and yeah, it takes me to something where it's like, something is almost blatantly obviously stated, but because we don't know the context of it, we don't think much about it. But the amount of shit, like, I've already seen shit that pointed out in just the first episode of shit that's like, oh. It's like, so yeah, I know the hints are there. I'm not doubting that. But fuck all if I really don't want to go searching through everything again.
ああ、知ってるぜ。いや、今ようやく気づいたかもしれない。
It's something that's been repeated over and over again throughout the tale. Yeah, without love it can't be seen. Persistently so. It's almost like it's a big...
愛がなければ、
Yeah.
真実は見えない。
Slowly, the tea room dissolved into darkness. Then, as though I was slowly sinking to a pitch-black sea, I passed through the crevice of the long journey I'd taken with Beto, and kept on falling and falling. It was a bizarre experience, like crossing over the boundary of sleep while still conscious. The several tales before became faint bubbles. No, they were small, shining fragments, and were scattered like stars amidst a pitch-black sky. I kept sinking on and on into that sea. The tales up until now, one after another, Virgilius guided Dante to Mount Purgatory, that he did, and brought him to the feet of the eternal lady who waited at the top, Beatrice. Therefore, the innermost depths lay not at the bottom, but at the peak of Mount Purgatory. The eternal lady had been waiting there for Dante the whole time. And then I like anytime they show me something that has like some text or dialogue on it, I like stop. I'm like scanning through it. Like, is this something I should really knew? And then I knew. I finally reached the truth, huh? To the depths. No. Bless me. To the peak of Mount Purgatory. Idiot. You really are an idiot. Are you talking to me? Oh, he's regaining life in the cathedral, right? Yeah. He woke from the sleep of death, and bit by bit, his sense of pain came back to him. On Balor's face, which still looked up to the heavens as he hung there, pierced by the longsword, a suffering and alive expression gradually returned.
お前は本当にバカだ。大バカだ。
Battler noticed. This whole time, Beto had been snuggling up against him, sleeping. And when he held her, he knew that it was not Beto, but her crumbling remains. So, when Balor just tried to hold that form as fragile as ash, and just like a sandcastle made on a beach, washed away by a small wave, it fell apart and lost its form. At Balor's feet lay nothing but the ragged remnants of Beto's dress and a pile of ash. No, on top of that pile of ash, he could see something sparkling gold. It was the husk of a single gold butterfly, which had been torn to bits. And so, Battler knew. I've definitely reached the truth. However, I wasn't able to do it, while Beto still remained in this world.
ベアト、お前本当にバカだろ。俺はようやくお前の出題したこのふざけた謎の真相にたどり着いたんだぞ。お前のお望み通りにくじけずに、とうとう最後までたどり着いたのに。なのにそれを待てずにくじけちまったんだよ。お前はあんなにも信じてたんだろう。俺が絶対に真実に至ってんなら、どうしてそれを俺と一緒に信じて待てなかったんだよ。永遠の拷問を強いていたのはお前じゃない、俺だ。俺がお前に過酷な拷問を強いた。そしてお前は最後まで抗い俺に訴え続け、そして俺はようやく今になってたどり着いたってのに、お前はもう待ってなくて手遅れになっちまったって。バカ野郎。どうしてお前が先にくじけちまうんだよ。
It's my fault. I forced her to endure this torture. In fact, she's been doing a wonderful job sticking through it for so long. Over and over and over again, she kept on protesting to me. And because I was so incompetent, it was as though I couldn't understand the truth.
バカ野郎。バカ野郎。お前の謎はさ、ひねりすぎなんだよ。どうしてもっと簡単に言えねえんだよ。バカ野郎。